Hello and welcome to this session of Building Trustworthy AI. I am Rudy Selekli and I'm a data scientist here at DataRobot. I currently lead both the pre and post-sales data science activities for the last region, that is LATAM Spanish-speaking countries. And as part of this role, I guide clients from all industries and sizes through the machine learning lifecycle and help them in achieving their goals with AI, getting them from data to value. My expertise in data science leadership shortens the time to market for most complex data science problems and helps clients realize ROI from machine learning in record time. And I'm very excited to be here today for the conversation of building trustworthy AI with MLOps. To kick off, let's start talking about trust. Trust is a quality that is earned, not given. This is true in many areas of life, whether we're interacting with strangers, making a purchase, or forming new relationships. We assess people, situations, and systems based on the signals that we receive. And based on that, we decide if we can put our confidence into those people or systems. And this is the same when it comes to technology, where trust in a solution must be earned through transparency, accuracy, and accountability. For companies that are or want to become AI-driven, this process of evaluation and assessment is an essential part of ensuring that they can trust their AI to help them make the most critical decisions. In many cases, it's also important for customers, suppliers, and vendors to know that the systems behind an organization's decision-making process are fundamentally trustworthy and secure. And in a world where essentially AI has become a buzzword in many settings, it's important to be able to peek behind the curtain to form a cohesive understanding of the underlying processes that drive AI systems. And it is also important to understand that trust is not automatically baked into AI system. While AI is a powerful tool that can deliver tremendous value to any company, there are numerous of stories that probably you've heard about lost public trust in AI and the concerns that people have around bias and fairness. This is why it's important for trust to be established between an AI user and a system, giving them the confidence to rely on the models that they deploy and the decisions that they make. In turn, this approach also improves an organization's ability to scale its AI and achieve better adoption across multiple functions in the area on the business. And as more people will start trusting the process, the technology that supports this work. And in order to understand this process of establishing trust, you can look at different facets of AI to establish how bringing better transparency and accountability into your AI workflows can augment your decision-making and help you answer key questions for your organization. Based on years' experience and success here at DataRobot, we sort the components of trust in AI systems into three main categories. The first one is trust in the performance of an AI model. Then, trust in the operations of an AI system. And finally, trust in the ethics of the workflow, both to design the AI system as well as how it's used to inform your business process. So let's start focusing on the AI performance. The assessment of a model's performance is based, in part, on its ability to make predictions based on new data. So we break down performance assessment into the following categories. Data quality. Of course, the performance on any machine learning model is directly tied to the data that it was trained on. So it is very important to understand the origin of this data, including how it was collected, how it was curated, does the data contain a large number of missing values? How can you assess the trustworthiness of your data? The second is accuracy. It's important to evaluate the accuracy of your model throughout the development process. Being able to select the appropriate accuracy metric for the use case and being able to communicate the results are both very critical. And other things to consider include, like cross-validation, using the cross-validation to test your model's effectiveness on different segments of the training data. And of course, asking the question, what trust signals are appropriate to define and communicate the performance of your model? The next one is robustness and stability. A model in production must be reliable and stable in order to continue delivering value. Continuously monitoring a model in production for data drift, changes in accuracy, and system responsiveness are very critical and crucial to building a trustworthy system. So how do you ensure that your model will behave in consistent and predictable ways over time? At the end, these are the models that you're using to make decisions. So you want to make sure that you're always making the right decision or the best decision. Speed. That's the last one. The speed of the model scoring directly impacts how it can be used in your business processes. How should the speed of the machine learning model inform model selection criteria and AI system design? This is also very important because based on customer experience or maybe some like requirements, you might want to choose a faster and not necessarily the most accurate model. So we can move to the next facet. In this case, it's the trust in AI operations of an AI system. A trustworthy AI system is one that takes into account the infrastructure of a software and the people that operationalize a model. It answers a simple question: how reliable is the system that my model is deployed on? And the following components are very important to consider in a reliable system. Of course, the first one is compliance. Like depending on your industry, you might have, like it might be very essential to align the model performance to regulatory requirements when putting a model into production. How do you best facilitate the verification and validation of your AI system? The next, security. In most cases, like especially in specific industries, like there's a lot of sensitive information about like the company, such as revenue, employee performance, salary, sales leads. Everything can be part of your training data. But how do you implement best practices to keep your data and models secure when creating and operationalizing an AI? You have to be very careful about how you handle this information. The next one is humility. Not all model predictions are made with the same level of confidence. A trustworthy system knows when to be humble. And in some ways, how should your system respond to uncertainty? The next is governance and monitoring. Without good governance, the best models might still result in undesired or intended behavior. Good governance and monitoring is essential to ensuring that your AI system delivers the value you need in production. Like, how do you support principles like disclosure and accountability in the management of your AI system? And finally, business rules. How do you integrate AI into an existing process to ensure that it delivers the most value to your business? How do you make an AI system a value member of your team and a seamless part of your business process? And finally, the trust in the ethics of the workflow. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to AI ethics, especially since AI systems and the data that they use can span borders and cultures. With multiple stakeholders and complex like social implications, AI becomes embedded in every area of your business. Ethical AI essentially questions center around the following questions. How well does the model align with my values? Or what is the real impact of my model on the real world? Other ethical components that I need to consider. And in this case, we have some of these, 4 categories. One is privacy. Individual privacy is, of course, a fundamental right, but it's also complicated by the use and exchange of data. What role does AI play in the management of sensitive data? Next, bias and fairness. AI bias is a difficult topic to navigate due to both its complexity and the social implications of what it means to be fair in decision-making. How can AI systems be used to promote fairness and equity in your decision-making? Or what tools can be used to help define what values you want reflected in your AI system? Next, explainability. This is one of the most powerful ways to build trust between a user and an AI model. How can you facilitate trust through explainability between machine and human decision makers? And finally, impact. An impact assessment is a powerful tool that can help you think systematically about how to identify the desired behavior of your system that will reflect your organization's values. And we believe that once you're able to answer all these questions and have a plan for them, is essentially when you're able to start establishing trust. And in our end, that's when we enter to MLOps, machine learning operations. MLOps is an automated system that streamlines all the model's lifecycle steps from its training and development through its production life, its governance and compliance, like risk management, essentially offering full transparency into the process. From data input to the model deployment, it's important to have a system that tracks, validates, monitors models, whether that's a single solution or an ecosystem of tools. And of course, an MLOps infrastructure can be a constellation of tools and processes. And typically that's what we see in the industry. But it is far more seamless for an organization to have an end-to-end platform that enables easy integration and less points of potential failure. Many organizations have a number of teams using a variety of different platforms or different languages across various departments to solve data science problems. On the other side lies the reality of production runtime environments. Like typically this is managed by the IT operations team, and it's where models are deployed before they can provide meaningful value. But these where organizations usually run into problems, and the reason that a lot of times models do not make it to production. There is an immense gap between these two teams. Deploying and running models in production is very different than building them. And it requires a brand new set of skills and tools due to the unique nature of machine learning. Until you bridge this gap, your machine learning will not fulfill its promise and could lead to lack of confidence and trust in your models. And essentially, this is what is referred as the production gap. MLOps helps build the bridge between systems and teams. To bridge this gap, you need essentially a new set of practices and processes embedded in your technology to help these teams streamline their collaboration, unify deployments, and manage models regardless of where they were created and where they are deployed. This essentially is the MLOps layer. MLOps solutions, and essentially to be proficient in order to be proficient, they have to have these 5 critical areas that we've identified, essentially to be able to deliver machine learning applications in a production at scale. And essentially the absence of these 5 critical areas will lead to more manual processes, spaces for more human errors, or even procedural blind spots, where critical issues might go unnoticed for days, months, or even like years, amplifying corporate and organizational risk. MLOps is the critical link that helps organizations make trustworthy decisions from their models by eliminating this gap that often leads to failed model implementation. In addition to these 5 pillars, of course, there's the principle of continuous learning, or what we call continuous AI, which is also vital to maintaining accuracy, integrity, and trust in deployed models by continually improving models over their full life cycle. So let's take a look into this, starting with deployment. DataRobot MLOps simplifies model deployments by streamlining the process between modeling and production. It allows you to easily deploy any model into your production environment of your choice, on-prem, in cloud, on the hybrid. You have the freedom to deploy wherever you choose is yours. This enterprise-grade MLOps system allows organizations to plug in their models and generate consistent API access for application teams on the other end, regardless of deployment environments and choice of cloud services and providers. Next, let's look at monitoring. DataRobot MLOps allows both production and AI teams to monitor models in ways specific to machine learning. This robust monitoring infrastructure is able to proactively monitor data drift, feature importance, and model accuracy issues. Advanced capabilities include features built to increase trust towards models in production even further. For example, the principle of humility in AI dictates the models should be able to inform not only when predictions are possibly going bad, but also when they're not confident in the quality of their predictions. Next, model management. DataRobot MLOps allows for a production model lifecycle management system that automates processes such as champion-challenger gating, troubleshooting and triage, hot swap model approvals. It also offers secure workflow to ensure efficient management of your model's lifecycle as you scale. Next is governance. Organizations putting machine learning models into production are dealing with regulatory compliance and corporate risk minefields. DataRobot MLOps offers an enterprise-grade production model, a solution that can deliver model version control, automated documentation, audit trails for all production models. Essentially, governance allows companies to minimize corporate and legal risks, maintain a transparent production model management pipeline, minimize and even eliminate model bias, and deliver a host of other benefits. MLOps offers an enterprise-grade production model governance to maintain complete model lineage tracking, such as approvals, model interactions, and versions deployed. And being able to create these reports on demand essentially allows you to always be on top and don't have to worry about that. Next, continuous AI. Continuous AI combines the best of automated machine learning with the best of machine learning operations to continually improve models over their full life cycle. Essentially, with continuous AI, you can create multiple MLOps strategies to refresh your production models based on schedule or even when an event occurs, such as data drift or a drop in accuracy. This does not only retrain your current production models for you, but also generates and tests a whole host of new models and presents top ones as recommended challengers, where at the end you can decide if one of them should be promoted as the new champion. Put it all together, continuous AI ensures that you always have the most accurate, trustworthy, and timely predictions as possible. And finally, trusted AI. At DataRobot MLOps, we have built specific features under trusted AI, including bias and fairness, which allows you to detect bias via fairness metrics and solving racial discrimination for models in production. Humility rules, which essentially provide guardrails that ensure predictions are within the normal range, even in uncertain times. Or finally, prediction explanations, which essentially allow you to calculate the impact for the features that you have, or essentially the reasons for each outcome for your model generates. Essentially, for each prediction, DataRobot will also tell you, I believe this is a prediction, because of these reasons. And finally, at DataRobot, we define a truly AI-driven organization as one built on the principles of AI you can trust. And essentially, to truly understand the full implications of this, we advise organizations to ask the question, what would it take for you to trust an AI system with your life? In many cases, organizations make decisions with their AI that have critical implications for people's lives and livelihoods. Well, this is all I have. Thank you very much for your attention and your time.